Hackers, black hat hackers, crackers, this type of crackers. Crackheads. They are all over the world, causing chaos in their own unique ways. But today we are talking about a hacker who took things to a whole new level. A 15-year-old kid sitting in his room with a dial-up internet connection and gets the idea to hack into NASA's satellites. This teenager, Jonathan James, somehow managed to sneak past one of the most secured organizations on the planet, and no one had a clue for days. Now you might say it's a great job, but how did he do it? With just a dial-up modem, something most of us couldn't even imagine hacking with today. I mean, most of us couldn't even imagine hacking by itself. And the funny thing is that NASA didn't even realize they were exposed until it was too late. And when they found out, it was a mess. This wasn't some low-level hack. No. This was a full-blown breach that made even the FBI sit up and take notice. The kind of thing that made the government rethink how secure they were really. But how the heck did this happen? Well, stick around, because I'm about to tell you a story that will make you rethink the security of the world's biggest institutions. And trust me, you won't believe how this whole thing went down. Jonathan James was a kid who lived in Pinecrest, Florida. He wasn't an average teenager. While most kids his age were playing video games, hanging out with friends or watching TV, Jonathan was consumed by computers. From a young age, he had an incredible understanding of how computers work, way beyond the typical computer user. He had a natural ability to deconstruct software and understand how it worked, almost like he was born to do it. At the age of 12, Jonathan was already experimenting with code. By the time he was 15, he was becoming a well-known figure in the online world of hackers. His abilities were not purely self-taught, they were fueled by his incredible determination. He was able to teach himself everything, from programming languages to how to exploit security flaws in online systems. Now imagine that. This kid was a pro by the age of 15, hacking into systems that most adults couldn't even dream of touching. Seriously, what did you do when you were 15? Most of us were just trying to make it through middle school, right? But Jonathan, he was out here breaking into some of the most fucking secure systems in the world. It wasn't just for fun, he was actually proving that even the most high-tech systems could be vulnerable, no matter how untouchable they seemed. Fast forward to 1999, Jonathan had been polishing his skills for years, and it was time for a bigger challenge. He aimed for something that seemed impossible to most people. A NASA satellite. But why NASA? Well, at the time NASA wasn't the super secure, fortified fortress it is now. They had all these amazing space missions going on, but like many institutions, they were still using outdated systems. Jonathan knew exactly what he was doing. He started with a dial-up modem, the same kind of internet connection that was popular in the 90s. It wasn't fast, it wasn't fancy, but it was all he needed. With it, he gained access to NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center in Alabama, where the computers controlling critical space mission data were housed. Jonathan was able to hack into NASA's system and gain access to some highly sensitive information, including software that controlled the International Space Station and systems for future space missions. Just think about it. The ISS, an orbiting lab that's a symbol of humanity's achievements in space, was being controlled by a software that could be accessed by a 15-year-old with a dial-up connection. Jonathan wasn't browsing for fun. He downloaded over $1.7 million worth of software. He gained full control over the NASA computers, snooping into their system like a ghost in the machine. And what's even more chilling, he did this all without anyone noticing. Not a single person. He moved undetected for over a week, stealing critical files and intercepting private emails. Imagine the chaos if someone had discovered this breach earlier. NASA had absolutely no idea that their satellite systems were being hijacked by a teenager sitting in his room. Jonathan even accessed the Department of Defense's systems. Yes, the Defense Department. That's the level of access he had. He was like a digital phantom. And as you see, this wasn't just about sneaking into a few computers. Jonathan was essentially messing with the backbone of one of the most advanced space agencies in the world. No more, no less. So Jonathan has been in the system, living the digital high life for days. But of course, nothing stays hidden forever. In January 2000, NASA's security team finally noticed something strange. Some important files had been tampered with. They launched an investigation, and that's when they realized someone had accessed their system from an untraceable location. NASA took the breach seriously and immediately shut down their systems. They shut down everything for 21 days, and during that time, they had to check every inch of their network, figure out what had been stolen, and patch up the vulnerabilities. And the cost? Around $41,000 just for the downtime and repairs. Just imagine how much more damage could have been done if Jonathan had had more time to work his way through NASA's infrastructure. But here is the twist. They still had absolutely no clue who was behind it. They just knew that someone had slipped past NASA's high-tech security like it was a piece of cake. And that's when the FBI got involved. It didn't take long for them to trace back the hack to Jonathan's home in Florida. They found traces of his modem connection, which led them right to his bedroom. Well, that sucks. In January 2000, Jonathan James was arrested. He was only 15 years old. I'm actually kinda curious how it feels being the first person in history to be arrested for hacking as a minor. The court had to figure out what to do with this kid who had just compromised NASA's satellite systems. They sentenced him to house arrest and probation. Also, he wasn't allowed to use a computer for recreation, which, if you are a hacker, is basically like telling a fish not to swim. But it didn't end there. A few years later, after violating his probation, he was sentenced to 6 months in prison. His story made headlines, and it served as a wake-up call for both the government and tech world. How did NASA, one of the most advanced space agencies in the world, let a teenager break into their system so easily? Despite all the chaos Jonathan caused, his hack was a turning point. It revealed just how vulnerable government systems were in the early internet days. The breach forced NASA and other government agencies to rethink their cybersecurity protocols. Jonathan's action literally changed the landscape of cybersecurity. In a way, he did the world a favor by showing just how bad things could get. Jonathan James' hack remains one of the most famous stories in hacking history. It's a tale of how a teenager with a computer and a dial-up modem took on one of the world's most secure organizations and won. But it's also a story about learning from mistakes, understanding the consequences of your actions, and realizing the power of digital world. Thus, there is just one thing left.
Watch my videos all of at the same fucking time. Watch it 1, 2, 3, 5 times a day. Don't miss any of it.
Did you just finish with him?
Watch it over and over again. Help me reach 4,000 hours of watch time, and I can become a full-time content creator by earning $5 a day. Don't miss the chance. All I need is you. Help me.